You're listening to Remotely We Are One, a podcast to help inspire others to take their lives back from the office commute. I'm Rick, a passionate beer rep who loves the industry but hates the commute.
And I'm Kaleem, a remote work advocate and consultant. We're going to speak with some of the top professionals who have managed to avoid the commute as they share stories from the most inspiring to the most comical, all while working remotely.
Man, this sounds exciting. Let's clock in.
All right, so this is the first time. So just so you have an idea, this is my best friend from when I was 4 years old. So we grew up together, and the normal co-host Rick, I kind of grew up with him later in life, much later. But I was like, well, who could I call last minute for a good co-host? And he's it. So he's a rapper, professional rapper.
Oh
right?
My God.
Yeah. Are we going to make you rap on this podcast, son?
No. My land's ready.
Introduction.
Oh, you going to rap the intro?
Well, no, but it's Remotely One, and I'll be your special guest, Cojaxx.
All right.
Now, tell us one of the funniest moments you've had through the whole process while working.
Oh, well, hold on, man. You jumping way too quick.
Hey, man, look. You jumped in early. I figured I'd return the favor.
That's the last story. Don't answer that. You got to save that.
Welcome back to Remotely We Are One. I'm your guest host, Freddie Cojaxx. I want to know how you're doing today, son.
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. We pulled this together last minute. So happy for you to join us as a guest host today. Freddie Cojaxx, check out his music, check him out. It's just been a great trip. I'm just coming back from Canada, man. I'm coming from the north.
So tell me a little bit about today's guest. I'm new to this.
All right. So I'm ecstatic about today's guest. I've been nervous for the past few guests. She's got me all nerved up, right? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She was born in the Soviet Union. Okay. So really, really timely guest right now. And her country, Lithuania, was the first one to declare independence. So we got to talk to her a little bit about that. Really, really important. Originally, she started working in big corporate banking. So she has that corporate feel. Then she got into a little bit of art, and her original business, Mailer Lite, just sold for $90 million. So she exited. So congratulations.
Phenomenal.
Yes, right. She's writing a book, and this book is going to be huge. I can tell, because right away, look, the book is called Leaving Base Camp, and it's about what you're thinking, but not really. So you're going to have to wait for the book, Leaving Base Camp. All right. Last but not least, she is the CEO and co-founder of the remote company. Viewers, listeners, please give a warm welcome to Miss Ilma Tiki. Woo! Let's go, Ilma. Let's go.
That's great introduction.
Deserve it.
You definitely deserve it. So how you doing?
Great, thank you. What about you?
I'm doing well. I know Freddie has a big question, but I'm just going to ruin the whole order of what we were starting here. So congratulations on the merger of Mailer Lite. Look it up, everyone. $90 million, bootstrapped company. There is hope for you all if you're starting your own product. Just tell us, what did it feel like the day you signed the deal? Just tell us, what did it feel like?
Well, it wasn't the one you would expect. It was just a normal thing. It wasn't like winning a lottery or getting lucky one day. It was a process. And that day, I was really kind of surprised how normal it was. And on that day, I actually realized when people are talking that we should enjoy the journey. So I'm really happy that I was enjoying every single day, because it wasn't something that you aim for and then it's done. It's not. It still continues. So I think let's invest into our happy journeys instead of waiting for one moment to feel happy or celebrate. So it was a proper day. I signed a contract. I made dinner for my family and we watched, some series.
Yes. That's a beautiful thing you're building. And it's a legacy that you can create all your own. 90 million is going to do a lot for your kids and your kids' kids. and your kids after that?
I think it's a good foundation to, build something bigger
So
and have more impact.
So I got to ask you, what made you first conceptualize MailerLite? What made you go for this as a remote company? I just need to know.
You mean why we decided to go remotely, to hire remotely?
Yes.
Well, it was for practical reasons. And I think we can divide them into two things. So one was practical that we used to be based in Europe, and we had more and more customers from the United States. So we're looking for customer support people to help our customers. And at some point, we decided to have 24/7 customer support. And the easiest way to do that was just to hire people from all over the place. Once we learned how to work with them, we decided then they can be whatever. They don't have to be just customer support. And this is how we kind of started the journey. But then there was another part. And another part was very egoistic. I love traveling, so I have a kid. And when he was born, we decided to spend all the winters somewhere away in warm countries.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah. And it meant that my business and my life partner and I were away every winter. And then it made no sense to make people stay in the office, right? At the same time, I was still kind of a young mom. And for me, staying at home was much more comfortable instead of going to the meetings in the office. So I had my own personal reasons why I wanted remote to work and why I kind of pushed that culture. And I'm super happy about it.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, can you kind of going backwards a little bit, like, was there something specific that made you conceptualize MailerLite? Because obviously I'm in Atlanta right now. So we're in MailChimp world. Shout out MailChimp. But MailerLite. I'm just saying. No one's outside. Okay, cool. So what was it that was just like, you know what? I want to create this email thing. Was there something specific that kind of sparked that interest? And what year was it? Give our listeners and viewers some context of what years we're talking.
I think it was 2010. So it was a long time ago. I think the whole business started as actually very similar to MailChimp because it was a web design agency. And my partner was building websites. And at some point, people would say that they need somehow to send emails and to collect them. And he created something for the current customers. And then at some point, we understood that it could be standalone business. And we just said goodbye to all the website customers. So it was very similar, I think, to MailChimp in that perspective. And to begin with, we were working in Lithuania, in our own country. It has less than 3 million people. So you get that the ceilings are really low. And it means that, quite fast, you have to think of some other ideas, how to scale the business. And this is how we built. At first, it was email marketing service for big companies and corporations based in Lithuania. And then we came up with MailerLite. That was an easier do-it-yourself solution that would be able kind of to be sold around the world to anyone, and they would do it yourself. We don't have to go to the meetings and so on. Yeah, so this is how it started. And Ben is a great guy. Shout out to him as well. I think having a great competitor is something that is really makes you move faster. So we're really happy about MailChimp.
All right, I got another question. So got a question for you, Mr. Cojaxx. And Ilma, maybe you can actually kind of comment on this as well. So for our listeners and viewers, Cojaxx is his name. He's a rapper. He tours the whole world. He's been everywhere, plays in front of thousands of people all the time. When COVID hit right away, you're in the entertainment industry. Obviously, being in person, the concert industry was hit really, really hard, right?
Right.
So what were some of the things that you had to do as an entertainer to adjust during that time of the pandemic? Were there any things specifically that you had to kind of focus on, just out of curiosity?
It was like, first it went to the remote concert, and I'm like, wait, so I'm in front of a green screen rapping to my dogs and a camera. And it's like, okay, but there's thousands of views, thousands of likes. It's like, all right, it's getting better. And then it made this slow transition to now we're doing drive-in shows where kids are coming in their car and watching us perform from their car. And it was such a detachment from the realness. It was kind of like, ugh. So then in that in-between time where you're not producing, you're not making money, it was you learn other crafts, you know, you indulge in. I got better at coding and websites and branching out and, you know, reaching myself and my full potential at other things. And then you realize, hey, there is no limit. There's no limit to anything you can do. It's just they better diversified your portfolio, let's say.
So you had to kind of change. Ilma, anything, now you were already remote, but is there anything that you found fascinating, like being in our space as knowledge workers, like looking at the entertainment industry, looking at some of those other industries that weren't typically remote? Was there anything surprising to you as far as like, oh, wow, that actually works out okay? And were there any innovations during this pandemic as we're still dealing with it? Were there any innovations outside of kind of our industry that you were kind of surprised about or just fascinated about?
Yeah. Well, since we were already remote, for us, didn't change much. The only thing was that we planned to meet with the entire team in Miami, and we couldn't come, obviously.
Oh, South Beach, Miami.
So instead of coming to Miami, we decided to make an online event, like for the colleagues that were all stuck somewhere. So I think the first thing that I noticed how fast the industry adjusted. And the first event that we did, it was really like only a fraction of price, you know, that we would pay because it's online. But after several months, when we decided to repeat the experience, I was surprised that we actually paid quite a lot, just like it would be a normal live event. And there was some really like quite interesting kind of solutions. Remember, we hired a theater from San Francisco, and they were doing some performances in the app called Gather Town. So we had the whole setup that was kind of, I think, Japanese something. And I was really, really surprised to see how fast artists adapted to the whole environment. I think another surprise, it's connected with the tech world. I'm surprised how they didn't adapt. They just moved the whole office environment to online. So if they had 10 meetings in a normal office, now some of them, they're still having 10 meetings a day in the online world. And I think that's so strange that instead of, you know, thinking what could be improved and what should be taken, what was the like good practice, what wasn't so good, they're just taking everything to online and, you know, trying to say that this is remote. It's not remote. It's not the same as office. And so that part is really still strange for me because it's already 2 years.
Oh, right. So can you tell us a little bit more about your remote company and actually what's next for you guys?
Oh, yeah. What's next? The remote company. Tell us about the remote company.
The future.
Yeah. So, the remote company. Well, we have 3 products that we're working on. Okay. It's Ycode, no-code tool. I'm working on with MyZenTeam. So MyZenTeam is meant for asynchronous communication and keeping people engaged in the teams in general. I think when we're talking about remote, I think and productivity and all these like fun things and good stuff about it, I think it's mostly connected with asynchronous communication. And a lot of companies, they still haven't found what it is and how it works. And then we have Partnero, that is like partnership app. So we still have companies and products that we're working on. And at the same time, in long term, I'm a big believer in remote teams in general, because that's a thing we do need to see more diverse teams in general. And, you know, being an office based in London and being diverse is very different than being a company that is based all over the world and being diverse, right? And I think with all the global challenges that we are facing, I believe that we have to have more like diverse companies, and most probably we're gonna be the one that will support them, and most probably gonna open some funds to help them and to have this impact.
So, seeming how you couldn't get together in Miami, how important do you think it is to get together? And will you be getting together soon in the future?
Yes. I'm so excited because in July, we're 140 people are gathering in Istanbul, in Turkey.
Wow.
And then we're going to be gathering with other products in Venice. So I think it's important for sure, But at the same time, I think a lot of gatherings are not being thought through. They're not being intentional. So I always recommend reading a book, Art of Gatherings. I think it's a great book because it kind of makes you think why you're doing the gathering and what's the point and what you want to achieve, instead of just having one more party in the sake of having a party. So I think we need more intentional events to kind of build more meaningful and deeper relationships with whatever team, family, friends.
Yeah, I like that you talked about like having a purpose of the gathering. So when we speak with clients, we emphasize just how important it is to meet in person. And if you've listened to this podcast, you're going to hear me say it again. Pandemic remote work is not normal remote work, because we couldn't get together. We were all struggling. Actually attended our first in-person event at Running Remote this year in Montreal. And it's really important to have these. Actually, in my opinion, if you're a remote company, the in-person retreat is even more important. Like, it's even more important to build those relationships, and knowing the types of connections that you want to make. We actually call it a social connection strategy. So what does your social connection strategy look like over the course of even 2 years? Do you have an annual retreat that everyone's required to go to, and that's about building multiple different types of connections? Then do you have team retreats? Do you have socials? Do you have online? There's a lot of thought that kind of goes into planning these events. So I really appreciate you saying like you have to be intentional about the purpose of that event. I do agree, though, that there is a lot of room for another party. Lots of room for another party.
In Miami.
And Cojaxx can perform. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
Oh, there it is.
We have a plan.
There it is.
I'll be the liaison. So I had a guy tell me this once about remote work. He's like, yeah, remote work's cool. It's cool. But hands-on is always better than hands-off. And I'm like, okay, everyone knows that cliche. And he's like, no, I don't think you understand. He's like, how many times have you watched a movie? And then someone watched the same movie and they told you a part of the movie and you didn't even see it.
Oh,
like,
right.
oh, he's like, but if you help and direct the movie, do you not know anything about the plot? And I went, man, look, you're a genius. Sometimes it's just how you say it to the person, though. And I buy into that.
Right. So being a part of it, being intentional and planning it, you know about the purpose of the whole movie, kind of like what you're saying.
In the meeting and the gathering, it's different when you're face to face versus, okay, let me watch this on the screen. Okay, I know I was writing something down, I was taking a note, and I caught a little bit of the end of the sentence it's hard.
Yeah.
Be that guy in this day and age to go back and be like, hey, what did they say at minute 2 minutes and 37 seconds?
Yeah. I think we always have these, popcorn guests and apron guests. So I mean, if you're just
popcorn and apron.
Yeah, if you're just watching and eating popcorns, you're not very engaged and you can't do much about it. So this is why every time we're doing any type of event, I'm saying we're using IKEA effect. It means that IKEA is just,
they're great in everything they do.
Yeah, but then you have to assemble it yourself, right? So whenever you visit somebody that has IKEA kitchen, they're gonna always show it because it's like this is like the biggest effort they put in any space at home, right? So I think it's the same with events. When doing at least some part by yourself, you don't blame anyone and you don't have an excuse kind of to be sad. So I think it's really important to have apron guests in the party and everybody should rap together.
I love that.
I'm still in that line. That's my next rap line.
Yeah.
You came for the popcorn. You didn't come to cook in the kitchen, baby.
We're going to get you to rap a few bars before this is over. I mean, we're not having you on the show for no reason. All right? Before we get to the fun question, I want to get a little serious for a second, because when we talked for a moment, I feel like remote work has just made the past 2 years, I just feel like we've all gotten closer. Like the world has seemed smaller to me anyway in the past 2 years. I've spoken to a lot more international people in the past 2 years than I have in a lot of my life, because we're dumbass Americans and we don't travel as much as we should. So I shout out for us dumbass Americans. But what I'm saying is, like, the world has tightened up. The world has gotten smaller, and it's this idea of remote work. You have to take on different challenges that you may not have taken on before. And when we talked last, this was kind of powerful to me because the conflict in Ukraine is still going, the war, sorry, I want to misclassify for what it is. You told me, you know, at Mailer Lite, you had a good amount of developers that were Ukrainian. Is that the right context? Am I saying that right? Ukrainian.
Yeah, we have a colleague in Ukraine, for sure.
And he put down his laptop to fight.
Wow.
Or be a part of the resistance. So as a leader, as a person who's running a remote company, there's a lot more things, cultural, economically, everything that has an impact. What were you able to do for your employee? I know what you did, but I want you to tell our listeners how you handled that situation and what you did for that employee.
Well, actually, you can't do much when your country is at war. It's just, you know, it's not your own kind of even decision. You are just there to fight for the freedom, right? So as a company, I mean, obviously, like, even it doesn't matter if it's pandemic or like war or something, I always check on him if he's safe. And, you know, for them, well, first week he was volunteering and helping others. He's still doing that every weekend and most probably more than that. But at the same time, it's already 2 months there when they're having the war, right? And war usually takes a lot of time. It's not something that happens, you know, in several days and it's gone. So people are looking for some normal, you know, conditions and normal life as well. So actually, after I think even a week, he already connected back to the laptop, and it's just totally like he works as much as he can work, but at the same time, for him, it means, you know, having that normality in the life, I guess. So as a company, we have joy budget. It depends how long you are working with our company. It's increasing with the amount of years you're working with. And it's joy, right? So it's like totally up to you how you're going to spend it. The only rule is that you have to take pictures, make videos and write. Because I think, you know, happiness is something that is like good to share, right?
Well done.
So this year we decided, and we asked people if people want to join. So the whole management, we used all that money to donate to Ukraine, and some of the team members joined that as well.
That's it. I mean, the fact that he was able to, and I'm assuming, I mean, I hope I'm not making an assumption here, but I'm assuming when he's volunteering, he was still being paid.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
I just, you know, some companies would be like, yeah, you know, your job is fine, but take personal time. That's how we are in the U.S.
Right,
That's
like
some shit we would pull. You know what? Go fight for our freedoms, but by the way, take some PTO time. That's some shit we would pull. So
no, I think it's just something that we have to understand. It's just, you know, as a company, I think the team is the biggest and most valuable asset that you have. And job is not something that is separate from life, right?
Yes.
And some tragedies might happen to everyone. And I think as a manager, you have to understand that it's part of the life. And if you're stuck with people, they are together, it's your team, and you're like with them, you know, together. So. And I think this is where remote helps in general. Whenever your kid is sick or something, you don't have to go to the office. You can stay by, right? I think we don't have to separate these two things.
You know what I love about everything she's saying right now is, first, we would say it, so that's great. But secondly, like, team is your asset, treating people first. Listen, did you guys hear what we said at the beginning of this podcast? She said she put team first.
Team.
Now she sold a company for $90 million. Team first works. This shit works. Like, listen, this is like, if you want to just not be a human and a good person and a lovable human being and just awesome like Ilma is, think of the business advantage. Take all your emotion out of it. Like, the shit works, people. The shit works.
Yeah, and you can actually sell a company that is working remotely.
Yes, you can. It does work.
Yes, it does.
You guys ready for this one? So, Ilma, we've heard all the logistics and the right from wrongs and everything you're not going to do with the money. Can you tell us the most comical or an inspiring moment where you and maybe some of the people you work with that was just downright hilarious while working remotely?
The home run, baby.
Oh my God.
Well done.
Yeah, let's go with hilarious. Okay. The most hilarious lesson that we learned hiring remotely was when we hired a guy that did a really great test assignment and he was like super professional. But I think at the end of the first day when he worked for us, we understood that he never came and some other people are working instead of him. This is like remote work, you know?
Wait, hang on. What do you mean? I don't understand. What happened?
No, he delegated the job to somebody else.
What? That is hilarious. So, like, how did you know?
It wasn't me. Somebody just spotted that, you know. And I think the main thing was that they spotted that guy wasn't working that good. Like you know, comparing who we hired, like the code wasn't so clean. It was something was clearly wrong. And then they made a call and it's like, oh, that's another guy. So like, know your colleagues, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Wow, we haven't had that one yet. Like the fact that he was like, yes, well, thank you for the job. And then he just turns over to the right. He's like, all of you get to work.
Right.
That's great. That's great. Well, Ilma, thank you so much for spending time with us. Mr. Cojaxx, thank you for being a guest host. You did a good job.
Wingman for life.
Yes. I appreciate everything. Ilma, can you tell our viewers and listeners where can they find you and follow you so when this book comes out, we can all read it and ask what's up with Basecamp?
Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter, Ilma Tweets, ILMA Tweets, or I don't know, somewhere on LinkedIn, Ilma LinkedIn, or just, I don't know, Google Ilma Tiki, and let's connect.
Yeah, that is great. That is great. Well, once again, thank you all for joining us. Ilma, it was a pleasure. Till the next time, I'm definitely coming to Miami when that thing happens.
Yes.
Let's make it happen. And check out Cojaxx music. Check him out online. Check him out on Spotify. You got one song with what, 2.5 million plays now?
You're about to hit 3. You're about to hit
3 million plays. So check him out. It's really good stuff. So everyone, thank you so much. Until the next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
You've been listening to the Remotely We Are One podcast. Visit us at remotelyone.com/podcast for upcoming episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and download our episodes on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, don't forget to clock out.